Hi everyone, I'm here today to show you how to make a piece one pizza. So join me and I'm going to show you how to make a very simple pizza that you can make with your family at home, something you can do together. It's great fun, so stay tuned.
Some of the ingredients you need are olive oil.
You need 1.5 cups of flour. You're going to need a bit of sugar, some yeast, measuring spoons, measuring cups. You might want a mixer. You can do this by hand otherwise, but a mixer really helps. You also want to have some salt, all right? And some lukewarm water.
First we need to add the lukewarm water.
There is just over a cup of lukewarm water. I'm making a half recipe, so I don't want too much pizza. And we have to mix in some sugar in our lukewarm water. This is what's going to feed the yeast and help it to rise. Next we're going to need some yeast. I tend to buy the big packages because I like to bake. And we're going to use a half a tablespoon. Again, I'm making a half recipe. You double this up for a full recipe. You sprinkle this on lightly and then get a little mix. Now that sugar and that warm water is going to help that yeast rise. If the water is too hot, it'll kill the yeast and it won't rise. You want it to rise, because if it doesn't rise, then your pizza is going to be super flat, although crispy pizzas can be really yummy.
Now we're going to add the 1.5 cups of flour to the bowl. We're also going to need the olive oil, and we'll add a little bit of salt. Here is the ingredients list again. It's a very simple list, isn't it? We're going to add our 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, or teaspoon of salt. So next we need a tablespoon of olive oil.
And I'm going to also place that in with all the other ingredients. The only thing we're waiting for now is for that yeast to rise. While I'm waiting for the yeast to rise, I'm going to turn the oven on to bake, and I'm going to put it on 425 degrees, which is going to make it super crispy and crunchy and cook it fast.
Now you're going to mix it up in the mixing bowl. I'm going to spare you the noise of the mixer. So once it's mixed, you need to turn it out onto a floured surface.
When you normally do this with two hands, where you fold it and you turn it, and you stretch it, and you fold it, and you turn it, and you stretch it, and you keep going.
You can do this by hand, or you can use your mixer if you have a dough hook for your mixer.
Okay, so I'm going to just show you that with two hands. Basically, you fold it and you flatten it with the heel of your hand. You squish it down, you turn it, you fold it, squish it down with the heel of your hand, and basically we just keep turning it, folding it, squishing it, turning it, folding it, squishing it. You do this for about 8 minutes. I won't record the full 8 minutes because that would get really boring. Okay, so normally you let the dough rise at this point. You stick it in a grease bowl, a bowl that has a bit of oil in it, plop it in, you turn it over, and you cover it with a damp towel, and you let it rise for about 1.5 to 2 hours. However, I don't like my pizzas to be really, really thick and airy. I prefer them to be a little bit more crispy. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to start shaping it, and we will let it rise a bit. Now you can roll this out with a rolling pin. This is a rolling pin, and you can sprinkle a bit more flour on top so it doesn't stick. It makes it easier if you roll it out. Now the guys who really know how to make pizzas, they'll flip them in the air and the whole bit. I can't do that. You can also just pat it out. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can pat out the shape, but the rolling pin makes it a little bit easier and a little bit faster. And you can just start rolling out that pizza to the shape and size that you want for your pizza tray. So just a note about parchment paper, you don't have to use it. I like to bake on parchment paper. It's non-stick. It can cover up if you've got old baking sheets as well. Otherwise you can just spray or rub some oil, olive oil or vegetable oil onto your tray. I've covered mine with parchment paper today, okay? And I'm still going to give it a quick spray. But this is parchment paper. It's not the same thing as wax paper. They're very different things. Don't use wax paper. So I'm just going to give it a quick spray. Or I can just use a brush and olive oil. And now we're ready to place this pizza onto the pizza tray. And you can pick it up, it won't fall apart. You see, you just lay it down there, spread it around, reshape it until it covers the whole thing. And then what you can do is you can stretch it out a bit and you can get the edges fixed. So I usually just tuck the edges under. And then if you pat it down around the edge, you kind of seal that edge off. And you've got a really nice crust then that you can use to pick up your pizza with. All right, and that's what it looks like. Now I'm gonna let that rise for a few minutes.
Nice things about making your own pizza is that you can put any ingredients that you like on your pizza.
I like to put tomatoes, mushrooms, red onions, spinach, sometimes green peppers even on my pizza. Mozzarella cheese, some Parmesan cheese. I like olives, black or green olives. I usually just buy the traditional Del Monte sauce for this, but you can buy special pizza sauce or even make your own. Sometimes feta cheese is really nice on pizza as well. So you can see that the dough is starting to rise a bit up, and I'm going to actually get this thing ready to go in the oven now because the oven is at temperature. First we're going to pour some sauce on. I don't usually measure, it's about that much, let's say, for one pizza. Depends on if you like a lot of sauce or not. So now you're just going to take a wooden spoon or a normal spoon and you're just going to smooth that sauce around. If you feel like you need a bit more, then you can always add some more sauce to it as well. Okay, now we're going to take some cheese and sprinkle that on top. I'm going to also just sprinkle some Parmesan on there. Now we're ready to put the other ingredients on. So we're going to lay out some tomatoes here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is add on some mushrooms from the bowl here, and I'm just going to sprinkle those on. I'm just going to take some of the spinach, sprinkle that all over the top of the pizza as well, and then some red onion. To finish it off, I'm going to grab some of my olives and sprinkle some olives on. And guys, that's the pizza ready to go in the oven. You can see that pizza bubbling away in there, and it's rising along the edges. It's almost ready. Pizza is ready to come out. I've got another little one next to it, but this big one's ready to come out. You've got to be really, really careful when you get your pizza out that you don't burn yourself, all right? I'm going to place mine on a silicone mat so I don't burn the countertop either. So I've now moved the pizza onto a cooling rack so it can cool down a bit. I just slipped it off of that paper and the cooking sheet, the baking sheet. So now we're going to cut this for piece one day. I've got my handy little ulu, which is a knife from the Northwest Territories. It's an Inuit knife. And we're going to make one cut and cut it right down the middle. Now we need to now do the peace symbol, so we're going to take the knife again and make another cut here, another cut off the middle here. And then what we're going to do is very carefully slide out a portion here. Alright, and there's our piece one pizza. Happy piece one day. Enjoy making your own piece one pizza. Bye.